Pyke Syndicate, Crimsom Dawn, Hutt Cartel, Ashiga Clan, and the Besh. What are these factions and how does the reputation system impact each of these in Star Wars Outlaws? Well, I've got all that and more. Let's go. Let me know which of these factions is your favorite in the comments down below. Firstly, let's talk about what reputation actually is. Now, the reputation system in Star Wars Outlaws will impact everything that Kay and Nix do in the underworld. Now, there are 4 major factions plus one other. That's the Pyke Syndicate, the Crimson Dawn, the Hutt Cartel, Ashiga Clan. We'll cover more of these in detail in a little bit. Plus, there is also Besh, which is another syndicate that is outside the reputation system, but extremely relevant to the main story for Kay and Nix during Star Wars Outlaws. We won't be covering them today. Having a good reputation opens doors to rewards and opportunities, while a bad reputation closes those same doors. Now, these doors can include things like open world territories that you'll actually be able to access freely, or faction bases in the major cities, while the opportunities are what contracts the factions will give you access to and how much they'll actually pay you for completing them. On a lesser scale, this can also affect things like vendors that are available to you, as well as what stock they can actually sell you. It's quite common that pleasing a faction will anger another in my experience during my preview time with the game. I'll link my preview here if you want to go and check that out in more detail. Your reputation will definitely fluctuate like throughout the game with all 4 of the main factions, and it's a system that you'll need to manage which ones you choose to side with or which ones you choose to betray. It is always possible to increase a faction's reputation just by completing any like random contracts that they can actually give you. Now, there are 5 reputation levels for each of the different factions, and they all offer different rewards or have different issues if you're sitting in that reputation. The terrible reputation level is the lowest reputation. Now, entering this faction's territories and districts, those members will shoot Kay on sight, and if you are spotted in those areas, you will be kicked out. You're also untrustworthy for contracts. Generally speaking, you'll have access to less and they won't pay very well, and you'll also get terrible deals from merchants that are aligned with that faction. And the major difference for the terrible reputation is that you will have a kill squad sent after Kay at regular intervals. So what this will mean is that the faction leader will actually send out a hit squad, essentially, bounty hunters that will be after Kay, and you'll actually be hunted down until you're back within the Syndicate's good graces, or at least out of the terrible reputation level. The next level is bad, which is essentially very similar to terrible with some minor changes. Now, you'll still be shot on sight if you're found in any territories or districts you shouldn't be. Now, you will have access to less contracts from that faction, but not as bad as, say, the terrible level, and you'll only get bad deals from merchants that are aligned with that faction compared to terrible deals. So you'll still need to pay a little bit more for anything that you're buying with that faction. The poor reputation is the standard reputation that you'll start out with all of the 4 factions. Now, what this will mean is that in terms of restricted areas, you will still get shot on sight or kicked out of any districts that you are in, but you will have access to a few jobs, as you do have a chance to prove yourself with these factions. You'll have access to jobs and they will pay pretty evenly compared to the lower reputation levels. The good reputation level is the first positive reputation level that does change a fair few things. Now, first off here, you are welcome in territories and districts that are owned by that faction, so you will be allowed to enter those areas freely, but you won't be able to steal anything, as that will lower your reputation. You are also available for work, so you will be more likely to get contracts from that faction, as well as paid well for those contracts, and you'll also get good deals from merchants. They will offer you a large discount on anything that you do purchase, and you'll get access to certain exclusive stock that those merchants will have available to you. And the first time you reach this reputation level with a faction, you'll get a welcome gift cosmetic, which is a blaster skin that is different for each of the different factions. You'll get a different blaster skin when you reach that level. Now, the highest level with any of the factions is called Excellent. Now, this has a few differences to good. Firstly, you can enter all of those territories and districts freely, but you can also help yourself to anything you like in that faction's territory and districts without receiving a penalty for stealing. You'll also get access to more jobs from these factions as well, and you'll get an even larger discount from any of the merchants, as well as access to higher level exclusive stock from any of that faction aligned merchants. And there are 2 different tiers of welcome gifts for the Excellent tier. Once you just reach that tier, you'll actually get a charm and some upgrade materials bundles that are different for each of the factions. And if you completely max out the Excellent tier, you will get a unique armor set, as well as a Nix customization that is different for each of the major factions. My favorite one during the previews that I saw was the Hutt Cartel one. I won't spoil it for you, but I think Rebels fans are going to be very pleased with that customization option. I will have plenty more information on the reputation system at launch, including the best syndicates to side with, as well as easy ways to improve your syndicate reputation levels, so make sure you subscribe for that. But let's talk about those syndicates and what they actually are. By the way, I am giving away a gold edition of Star Wars Outlaws at launch. If you'd like to win this, you need to be subscribed to the channel and click the link in the pinned comment down below and complete one or all of the entries on the page in order to enter. Good luck. The Pyke Syndicate is the first one. Now, this is the first syndicate you'll run into in Star Wars Outlaws. It has actually appeared in the Clone Wars TV show as well as the Book of Boba Fett. And something to note here is that Martha Jonkers said in the IGN interview that this is a different group of the Pyke Syndicate that we've seen in the Clone Wars TV show and the Book of Boba Fett. I actually also interviewed Martha at Ubisoft Forward. I'll link that interview here if you'd like to know more information about some of the things she says there. But the group of the syndicate is led by Gorak. Now, Gorak is a unique character to this Pyke Syndicate group, and the Pyke Syndicate runs Toshara, which is a new moon that has been created by Massive Entertainment, and they are very much at odds with the Crimson Dawn on Toshara for control over the territories and districts. So a lot of the decisions that you'll make in the early game here will either positively affect the Pyke Syndicate and negatively affect the Crimson Dawn, or vice versa. Speaking of the Crimson Dawn, this is led by Lady Kira, who you may remember from the Han Solo movie, who is played by Emilia Clarke in that movie. I don't believe she is playing the same character here, but let me know in the comments if I am wrong. Now, Kira is in charge of the Crimson Dawn Syndicate during this era of Star Wars. Not a ton is actually known about the Crimson Dawn, as they are a relatively new syndicate. Now, they are obviously appearing in Han Solo, and they have had a few different leaders, including Darth Maul at various periods of time. So what exactly their role is going to be in the larger Star Wars universe, as well as in Star Wars Outlaws, we don't rightly know, as they're very secretive in terms of that. But one thing we do know is that they are basically at odds with like every other of these factions in Star Wars Outlaws, and obviously Kay will have opportunities to leverage there to either increase her reputation with them or decrease it depending on choices that you do make. Now, the Ashiga Clan is a brand new syndicate created by Massive and Lucasfilm in collaboration. They are actually an existing species in Star Wars lore, however, called the Maleto. Now, this species is an insect-like species, and speaking with the different characters during my preview in Star Wars Outlaws, they do refer a lot to the Hive, and they all report to the Queen. So, you know, very like bee-like inspiration there in terms of like their clan setup, and obviously the Queen here is in control of the clan itself. The Ashiga Clan has their influence on the Kashimi planet, which we did see in Rise of Skywalker, and funnily enough, they're at odds with the Crimson Dawn, just like everyone else is. So a lot of the decisions you might make on this planet and impacting them will impact the Crimson Dawn. The last faction's one you've probably heard of before. That's the Hutt Cartel. Now, the Hutts are obviously led by Big Jabba himself. You might remember him from Return of the Jedi or plenty of other Star Wars material. Now, in Star Wars Outlaws, this is set before the events of Return of the Jedi, so Han Solo is still having a sleepover at Jabba's palace, so you can actually run into him there. And the Hutt Cartel is still very much at large on Tatooine, which is definitely where you will be running into the Hutt Cartel mostly. Now, same with all of these different factions, you will interact with them on their different planets, but seemingly they all seem to have like a home planet that you will interact with. We don't rightly know what the Crimson Dawn one is yet, but it's pretty obvious that the Hutt Cartel is going to be Tatooine. We didn't see much of the Hutt Cartel in our preview sessions. We've only seen a little bit in that exclusive gameplay and the trailers that have gone out. And a pretty educated guess here is that we will definitely be interacting with them a lot throughout our time on Tatooine, as well as probably other planets, as they will have options to interact with them on other planets like all of the other factions will. But let me know which faction you are picking in the comments down below, which is going to your main faction that you're going to side with. Really interested to see who everyone connects with in Star Wars Outlaws. But thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.